Alright, I'm pointing out the bait and switch in Professor Steve Strogatz's new math book on the calculus called the Infinite Powers. Infinite Powers, Steve Strogatz. So, he starts out saying this sense of awe goes way back in the history of mathematics. According to legend, Pythagoras felt it around 550 BCE when he and his disciples discovered that music was governed by the ratios of whole numbers. For instance, imagine plucking a guitar string. As the string vibrates, it emits a certain note. Now put your finger on a fret exactly halfway up the string and pluck it again. The vibrating part of the string is now half as long as it used to be, a ratio of 1 to 2, and it sounds precisely an octave higher than the original note. The musical distance from one do to the next in the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Oops. If instead the vibrating string is 2/3 of its original length, the note it makes goes up a fifth. The interval from do, don't, do, 3, fa, don't, 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 don't. Think of the 1, 3, 5. Think of the first two notes, Star Wars theme song. And if the vibrating part is 3/4 as long as it was before, the note goes up by a fourth. The interval between the first two notes of "Here comes the bride," dun, 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 dun. Okay, and now he neglects to mention the do pitch names for if the vibrating part is 3/4 as long as it was before, the note goes up by a fourth. Now, why does he neglect to mention the pitch names suddenly for that interval when he mentions the pitch names for the fifth and the octave? He mentions that the octave is the do in the next of the do scale, and he mentions the fifth is the do to sol. But when we get to the fourth, there's nothing. And why is that? Because if he said what it was, he would have to say it's sol to do. Even though he just said sol is the perfect fifth. And the perfect fourth in the scale is do, re, mi, fa. Do, re, mi, fa. It's fa. So why can't he? He can't say the name of the pitches because he doesn't want to say that the perfect fourth isn't part of the overtone series. And here comes the bride. That's actually the perfect fifth up to the octave. It's not the perfect fourth. And so he has to leave that out. He has to leave out the do pitch name. And if he left it in, then he would have to explain that the octave and the perfect fifth are non-commutative. In other words, yeah, it is a perfect fourth from the octave, from the perfect fifth up to the octave. And so it's not the perfect fourth in the same scale of the do to do is actually not part of the overtone series, because if you have 3/4 of the string, then the frequency is 4/3 from the C to G as the perfect fifth or sol. And so the 3, if the frequency is 4/3, that means the denominator is not the same as the root tonic. So the do is the 1, and the do is the octave is 2. And so that is the denominator is a octave the same pitch for the overtone series. So when you have a frequency of 4/3, you've changed the denominator, and that's why it's non-commutative. So in fact, if the whole problem with the foundation of Greek science is they're relying on string length. So then if you have a perfect fifth in the opposite direction, then the frequency is 2/3 instead of 3/2, but it's still a perfect fifth. But now your root tonic is 3, so it's the F is the 3, and if you double it, you get 4/3 as a ratio, but your root tonic is now 3, and so that's why in the string length is longer, or the frequency of the 4/3 is only achieved by the string length of 3/2, which is longer because you're getting a frequency of 2/3 as a subharmonic, and so you have to have a string length longer than your original 1-to-1 string length as your fundamental frequency. So that's why the perfect fourth can't be part of the harmonic series. And so Field's medal Alon Kahns points out that he calls it 2-3 infinity because music theory is actually non-commutative. And so Steve Strogatz, by simply leaving out this one part of his logical statement of the pitch series, he does what I call the bait and switch, where suddenly he's just referring to the numbers as geometry without the pitch. And by leaving out one of the 3 factors of the pitch from the geometry of the numbers, he can cover up the truth of non-commutative phase. And the non-commutative phase means that the future and the past are overlapping. So he's saying it's a perfect fourth. It goes up by a fourth, but it only does that from the fifth. And so he has to leave out the fa, because it's not a perfect fourth. In the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale, it's not the fa. So he says the fifth is sol, and so logically the fourth should be different than sol, but it's not. When he says it goes up by a fourth, it's still sol, which is the fifth. And so he just made a logical, it's not technically an error, but he covered up the non-commutative truth. And I found out about this book from Dr. Brian Keating, and who said, well, should calculus be mandatory in high school? And I said, well, the non-commutative Pythagorean theorem should be mandatory in high school. And why is that? Because, here you have Strogatz. He's going to teach calculus, and it'll be great. I'm sure I'll learn lots, but he's covering up this basic truth right here. And then he says, this unexpected link between music and numbers led the Pythagoreans to the mystical belief that all is number. Actually, they said that all is number and harmony, not just all is number. and so this wasn't rediscovered till De Broglie's law of phase harmony, and so Strogatz is simply being not clear if he's conflating the perfect fifth and the perfect fourth. So if Alon Khan's is emphasizing music theory as explaining relativistic quantum algebra or non-commutative geometry, then and then he's cited by Math Professor Michio Durdevich, who teaches in Mexico, stating that the octave and the perfect fifth are non-commutative, and he's citing Alon Khan's. So just by Strogatz doing the bait and switch and leaving out the pitch scale of fa, he's covering up a whole field of mathematics called non-commutative geometry, and he's leaving it to me to open up that window to explain this truth of that music is actually non-commutative phase. And this is a truth I realized on my own from studying music in high school. And non-commutative geometry is considered a unified field theory mathematics. It's the most advanced math, and it's based on what Alon Khan's calls 2-3 infinity. That's how he sums up the model. And he says that music enables us to understand the relation of time and algebra, just as Heisenberg was trying to figure out. And this is why, because Strogatz had to leave out that the fa. You can see it right here. So he's got the fa, sol, la. Anyway, can't really see it, but and then he says that the history's greatest mathematician